we just have a minute?
Hello.
Madam, can we start? We just have a minute.
Yes.
You can't see my face? My face. Oh. A very good evening to all of you. Good journalism can make our world a better place. It's a way to do public service that can make an impact on the community. And as mental health professionals, we at SCARF understand the vital role journalists can play in raising awareness amongst our population. And it's our duty to acknowledge those who have contributed to this cause through their very impactful stories. To express our appreciation and gratitude to all those committed journalists, SCARF initiated the SCARF Media for Mental Health Awards in 2011. And here we are in the 11th edition of the SCARF Media for Mental Health Awards. And this is for the year 21-22. We are a little delayed by 3 months. And we hope to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. So a very warm welcome to all of you. And I would now welcome Dr. Padmavati, Director of SCARF, to formally welcome the gathering and introduce the guests here.
Thank you, Mangala. Thanks to everyone who is gathered here today. This is a very important occasion. And we do have several luminaries on the stage today. Although it is a virtual meeting, I think we are very grateful to people who have taken time off to come here today, because this is, as Mangala has already said, a very, very important area of mental health communication that we are talking about. I'm indeed very delighted to welcome Sanjay Pinto here. Sanjay's, formal bio, I think, is pretty well known. So I'm not really going to talk too much about his the many hats that he wears. I think most of us are familiar with his writings. And as a columnist, I've always enjoyed receiving his forwards in the morning, because they really make some very intellectual reading, and also gives a lot of insights into what are the, on legal issues, which sometimes really I'm completely unaware of course, not being my field of interest. Thank you, Sanjay, for being here. But I think more importantly, thank you for being such a great friend of SCARF. We know when we call, you will pick up our calls. And that to us is very important. And having you here for this very, very important occasions, and as a writer, I'm sure you will be, it's very, I think it's very significant for all the prize winners here that you are there here to give away the prizes, because I think you have your it's not just talking about your writing skills, but the ideas that you bring forth that are so important. And more as important as you are as a friend of SCARF, I think you are an important person to the persons with mental health problems, dementias, and so on. And that makes it more critical to have you on stage here. So thank you so much, Sanjay, for being here. I take this opportunity to, talk about two other very, very, very important people in our in SCARF's journey with the media awards. Dr. Jaya Sridhar, again, needs no introduction. A mental health consultant, writer, and a former censor board member is a very formal introduction for her. And of course, as a faculty at the ACJ in college. However, again, over the last 11 editions of this award, Jaya and Venkatesh have stood by us in terms of evaluating all the entries that have come in. And I've had, the times that I have joined them on the jury has been really entertaining. In a sense, we've had such lovely discussions on the articles that have come in and so on. So it's more to provide the intellectual insights, reading insights, more as much as the intellectual insights, the reading insights into the articles. So thanks so much, Jaya, for being with us through. Mr. Venkatesh, again, needs no introduction as the editor of Dinamalar Pattam, co-chairperson of the Scarf Media Awards. Venkatesh is also a prolific writer for people who have read his books in Tamil. I think they're extremely important short stories and novels that he has written. Again, it's such a source of strength for Scarf to have both of you on the jury, because I think it helps us to not look at it from a very clinical perspective, but look at it from another angle of health communication. And that to us has always been a big learning lessons. So a warm welcome to all you luminaries on this dais here. And it gives us great confidence to have you alongside our journey in the care of persons with mental illness. So thank you. Over to Mangala here.
Thank you, madam, and a warm welcome to all of you who have joined us for this event here. And about the Media for Mental Health Awards, we received about 50 entries this time, published between April 2021 and March 2022. There were 50 entries across languages from 28 persons. I think one of the biggest changes we saw this time was we had series of articles. I mean, there were series of articles on mental health related issues coming over 3 or 4 issues, which I think the jury found it very, very interesting, of which unfortunately, again, regional language entries were very few, and we had more entries on the digital media than on the print media. So I think now I would like to welcome Mr. Venkatesh to throw some light on what the jury felt about the entries. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Mangala and Dr. Padma, for giving me this opportunity. And this is a wonderful journey, and I'm sure Dr. Jaya and myself have wonderful reading material, first of all. So being a journalist, most important thing is that while we read the content, we should enjoy the content, we should be able to appreciate the content and make sure that this is the kind of things that we were looking for. So while we started with the journey for selecting these articles, we had a set of ideas, something like it should be more in depth, it should have a more local reportage, and then it should make a lot of sense in terms of one is on the clinical side or on the correctness, on the correctness of the subject, and then the way that it is presented. So this year I have this year I felt so happy that almost some 50 plus articles, almost every single article, every single article is worth reading the content. The way that it is presented, the way that the writers have taken pains to gather information and write, assimilate it in a proper way, and present it in a beautiful way. See, I'm saying the almost in the 50 plus stories, almost some 35 stories are excellent stories, which is very important stories. And these are probably some of the general things which I thought I should share with you. Now, as you mentioned, Dr. Mangala, there are a series of articles. This is the first time which I'm looking at some 3 or 4 publications. They have a series of articles, which means one is almost from 6 or 7 articles. There are another series of 3 articles. This is the kind of interest that the publications are showing in presenting these mental health issues. That's most important. Earlier, it was generally what happens in a press, in a print publication, is that this is generally given probably a 250 words or 500 words kind of a content, where they don't have any in-depth articles, or probably that's something like to do with the World Health Day or World Mental Health Day. Those kind of occasions we generally place those articles. But here, what I see is that the articles were well researched, and they actually are not designed in such a way that the editors have given importance to these writers, these journalists, and they have taken the pain to go and feature a series of things, and they are able to do an in-depth study and then be able to present the story, which is two things are very important. One, the publications themselves have understood the value of mental health and the journalism, so they are giving more space to mental health content, which is most important. And they have also found a good writers, journalists to present these articles, which is most important. So now you have a new set of writers, new set of contributors have come into the field, and they are actually presenting new perspectives and new approaches to these stories, which is most important. This is the growth. This is the thing which I've seen. Last 7 years, I was looking my mailbox. So from 2017, I'm being part of this jury process, and I'm reading. I was going through the earlier articles also. So many things, haven't. This is a kind of evolvement, and this is the kind of evolution which I have seen in these articles. And the most important thing is this time, the important thing which I see is that more of online editions, more of online content which is come to the for this contest. More than earlier, I used to get content from, say, Times of India, from Hindu. I don't think this time we have got those content, but I think the more of a new names have come in, new publication names have come in, which is most important. I think this is the way that it has to spread. I think not just mainstream media, even the online media which are there, and even the newer media are taking a lot of pain to present these kind of stories. I think more and more people getting into the space, more and more people, more and more research coming into the space will actually strengthen the way that the stories are presented, strengthen the awareness, and make sure that it is reached to the much larger and wider audience. That is most important. And then the most important thing, as I mentioned, is new set of writers have come in, new set of contributors have come in, which I felt very, very important, because none of these names, probably except a couple of names, I have seen all the names are very new names, all the new writers. So they have all emerged from different parts of the India, and these are publications, and these new writers are I'm sure I should welcome all of them, because I think most of them would be there in this online meet. I think I welcome all of them, because this is important, because you have found the right way to present the story. You have found the very good content in the stories. That is most important, and we are doing a justice to actually recognize them by giving these kind of awards to them. That's most important. And I'm personally, as a journalist, I'm very, very I should appreciate, because the kind of depth which I'm seeing. For example, a series of articles are there, some 6 or 7 articles, and those are all interviews, and all those interviews are in-depth interviews, nothing to do of anything. It's not a flip-flop kind of an interview, which is an in-depth review. They have done a research on the concerned person, and they have taken the pain to frame the questions, go to the concerned individuals, and take those interviews and write it in a proper way and present it in a proper way, which means the kind of work, the kind of homework that the journalists would have done is immense. I'm so happy that the journalist, even before going to every single person, every single person that he has interviewed or she has interviewed, surely they would have taken such a huge time to do the kind of homework. I'm happy that the journalists are taking this kind of a pain to do that kind of a homework. I'm so happy that this is where the quality journalism will come. I'm happy that kind of a journalism is actually evolving. I'm so happy in that sense. And the most important thing is that the balanced way of writing, this is most important. Most of these interviews or most of these content pieces are written in such a balanced way. There's no any bias in terms of presenting a certain ideology or certain views or certain set of ideas. Here, they take the pain to make sure that there are also opposition, there are also alternative voices, there are also different voices. So they take that into consideration, make sure that is also represented into the articles, and they also make sure that there's a voices, the different voices are included in the same piece, and make sure that the article is is complete in all the sense. It's a 360 degrees kind of an article. It is not one-sided, biased, and all those stuff. And the most important thing which I feel is that the homework is important. Amazed with this kind of, and his journalism, and yeah. See See, one more thing which I felt is that the kind of initiative these writers have taken, the stories that they have taken, the stories, ideas that they have picked. I think the story ideas is most important. They have taken different set of ideas. Now, this is where while bringing out a set of ideas, they have taken something from the Corona period. They have taken women and Corona. They have taken different approaches on different. Picking up a story is most important. This time, I can see that the contributors, the writers have taken and they have taken the pain to pick up the right stories and make sure that the stories are well researched, presented. And once again, they have taken the inputs from the right mental health doctors. It is nothing to do with their own. It is not their own content. It is validated by doctors. It is validated, and they have a good what you call inputs from the doctors, which makes the story very rich and make sure it's a very prolific story. At the same time, it is very genuine stories. So that way, it makes a good reading for us. So I think these are all some of the very important things which I thought I should share. And also I would like to share some more things, which is this time there's these are some concerns also. The concerns are like, for example, we have this time we have seen a lot of content from online media, not from print media, which I think we should make sure that we should also make the print media to write more stories on mental health. In terms of reach, I think still the print media makes a lot of difference. So we should have more and more content from the print media. Second thing is, in last 7 years or 8 years, I have not seen repetition, which means the old writers are not coming back. Either way, they are not writing, or probably they are not sending their articles to this contest. So we should make sure that for example, if I remember name like a person from Pune, there's a lady who wrote about her mental issues in 2-3 years back. And there's another writer by name, I think Soma Basu. I think she is also not, I'm not seeing any new articles from her this time. I think we should also make sure, while we are creating new set of writers, we should also be able to appreciate the existing writers and make sure they also contribute to the same field. Now, I think those are the concerns we should be able to add more and more concern. And once again, regional language content is another important area which we need to strengthen. So I think with all these things, I thought I should put all these things together and probably show present my ideas. I think thank you for this opportunity. It's a wonderful reading, and I personally enjoyed reading all these articles. I'm sure Dr. Jaya Sridhar also should be able to throw some more light on this.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Venkatesh. Yeah, I completely agree that we all enjoyed reading all these stories, and I was personally very happy that I didn't have the duty to choose among those stories, because I was excited about a lot of those themes that were part of the stories, and each one of them was important in their own way. So I completely agree, and we are so happy that we are having you on the jury, someone who's so passionate about good journalism. I think it showed in the way you spoke now. Thank you so much. And I think it's now time to hear from Dr. Jaya about her perspective from the jury.
Sure. Thank you so much, firstly to Dr. Padmavati and then Dr. Mangala and SCARF generally. Including Dr. Tara, who I don't know if she's logged in, but it's always been a great pleasure and a privilege to be associated with this esteemed institution, one of the leading lights in mental research and service delivery in this part of the world for, I think, well over 2 decades, or is it closer to 3? So I was a little surprised to hear Dr. Padmavati actually mentioning that we are in the 11th edition of this awards. I was a little mixed up with my numbers. I had just told Sanjay it's probably the 5th or the 7th or the 6th or something. I'd lost count. So for me, it's been like it's such a matter of great pleasure. It's wonderful to see that the awards event is happening year after year, and there is a path and an avenue and a stage where the hard work of journalists, everyday busy journalists who write for a living and who are challenged with so many things, particularly during the pandemic, to have these very sweet, delightful little moments where your work is recognized, somebody is sitting up and taking notice, as well as that the recognition is coming from an institution which is an expert in the field, in the topic on which you've been reporting. So I really hope that this tradition endures for a long, long time. and we are able to even expand journalism engagement, engagement with the area of journalism even more. That said, I just wanted to thank Mr. Venkatesh for detailing our wonderful experience with the articles this year. I think he pretty much covered everything. I just wanted to add two things. One is, like, we were very delighted to see very offbeat topics being picked up. I can just name one, and then you're going to, see. I really wish maybe we can put up some of these articles for people to read, flag them up on the SCARF website or something like that. So, for instance, one was about the mental health of women during menstruation. What is it that they go through, and is there enough attention paid to it? One of the easiest things in the world to do is to be dismissive about one's mental health symptoms. The first reaction is probably denial, and the second one is this can be handled, give it time, or then keep it within the family. And going to the mental health service provider is always the last step. But these little everyday things about how one's mental health and everyday things like menstruation, stress at work, all of these things are getting a little more importance, and they're being explored more critically and being given more weightage. And there is this kind of conversations that go on are gradually helping to destigmatize the issue and to show how common these conditions are and help audiences identify with it. So that's a really welcome trend. The negative side to that is, of course, the glut of lifestyle journalism that we're seeing online and on social media, where everyone is doling out mental health advice, starting with, changing your diet to, saying a mantra and all sorts of very facile advice. So I really wonder how in this age of infodemics that we've seen with COVID-19, and these infodemics are there in the other areas as well, including lifestyle journalism for non-communicable diseases. It's a huge issue. Weight loss, tips and tricks and all sorts of things. So my question really, and I hope Sanjay will also address this a bit, is it's a huge responsibility for journalists to help audiences navigate these, the mis and disinformation we are seeing online. And when it comes to mental health, it can have very deleterious impact. So it's a huge responsibility for us to make sense, help audiences make sense of all of this extra information. And related to that is another really important thing, which I think we need to focus more on as health journalists and people interested in reporting on mental health. And that is looking at the literature, really exploring the journals, the peer-reviewed articles, to look for the evidence that's out there. And if we can't make sense of that evidence, just talk to the researchers, just call up people at NIMHANS, or reach out to the mental health experts, speak to the authors, so that we just don't grab the headline of the abstract and give audiences a wrong message. Take the data in that story and ask those questions. And so the related plea is, of course, for researchers in mental health to give time to journalists. Make yourself available and open so that you can have these conversations and help in continuing journalism education, if you like, in your area of expertise. That'll be a huge thing. When there are mental health articles that are backed up with good evidence, and that tell the audience how big the study was, where it was done, what are the limitations of the study, and really what is the way we can interpret it, or how researchers would like us to interpret it. That's like a holistic education for an audience, and will really help usher in some critical thinking skills. I mean, the journalists can think critically along with the audience to puzzle their way through that paper, rather than go in favor of these slam dunk headlines that pretend to sort of know it all, or this is the definitive message. So I think a more sensitive, maybe a tentative, careful exploration of evidence is something that really needs to come into the area of mental health journalism. So with those few words, I again want to thank all the people who sent in entries this year. We were absolutely delighted at the quality of articles. As Mr. Venkatesh was saying, it's not just one, sort of a mental health tourism journalism. You just go into the mental health institution for 2 or 3 visits, and then you come out and you file a pretty good story at the end of it. and then you're done. But here is someone who seems to have immersed themselves. So some of the articles and the writing was very immersive, that tone and that involvement came through. So that was absolutely thrilling. So I just want to leave you all with one thought, that is, as journalists, we have to take care of our own mental health. So it can be very stressful when we're doing these health reports on very sober and sometimes downright scary things. So take good care of your mental health, and hopefully with SCARF, we'll develop a good mental health outreach program for journalists one day. I'm making a public bid for it and probably surprising the daylights out of Dr. Mangala. But I honestly feel that that's something that I think is owed to the area of journalism, who are frontline responders, not only during COVID, but also during this, emerging. What we're seeing is obviously a huge swell of mental health issues all over the world and in India as well. So I'd like to stop here and again thank everyone for this great opportunity and looking forward to more. Back to you, Dr. Mangala.
Dr. Jaya, we would like you to announce the next segment.
Yeah. I wondered if you're going to flash up the citations and
no.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought that was coming at the end, but yes. So this is another new initiative from SCARF, which is very much related again to journalism, but this time it's not for working journalists. We'd really like to make available a platform for students of journalism and students of mass communication who are focused on journalism, interested in journalism, to write feature stories on mental health for us. And we will select the best stories and take the responsibility of placing them in good media outlets. This is open not only to English language journalists, but also to the regional media. We really hope that the regional media will also pick up on this in a big way. So once again, it's for students of journalism, students of mass communication who are interested in the journalistic side. Feature stories, they have to be feature reports and have to focus on mental health. And SCARF, will take the responsibility of getting these articles placed. So the stories need to be submitted. There will be a call for applications that goes out shortly. You can look out for it on the SCARF website. And anyone with doubts can call us up and we'll lead you through that whole process. There'll be a limited time period given to you to prepare and write those articles. And if you need any mentoring during that process, we are available to help you and give you a bit of a hand. If you want to brainstorm ideas with us or, have doubts and, happy to do that. There's quite a bit of experience at this end. And we're happy to lead you through that. And we hope that you'll respond and then come back to us with enthusiasm and some great stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jaya. That was a very comprehensive announcement that you made, and we hope the students do take up the offer. And talking about mental health of journalists, yes, we did have a session on that, if you remember, during the COVID times. SCARF and Sangats together organized a workshop. We are more than happy to do similar sessions, but then it's very difficult to get all the journalists together. So that is the challenge. If they are willing for us to come, we are happy to go to their offices to do sessions. So SCARF is always open to that. Thank you so much. And I think it's now time to welcome the chief guest of the day, Mr. Sanjay Pinto, to talk to us about his experiences as a seasoned journalist and also announce the awards. But before that, Sanjay, we would like to show you a small token of our appreciation. You will receive the gift in person by tomorrow. So this is a painting by one of our clients, Mr. Satyendran, and it's an abstract painting, and there's a calendar next to it, which is again made with paintings made by our patients. And we brought out this calendar, and we have distributed it to about 1,000 people across the city. So this is something that we are very proud to give you a copy, which has some excellent paintings made by some of our patients. It is more art for therapy. That was the idea behind bringing out this calendar, and we plan to do it regularly in the coming years too. So
thank you, Dr. Mangala. It will adorn its pride of place in my law chamber. Thank you very much. I'm humble.
Thank you so much. I'm happy you liked it. Yeah. So it's over to you, Mr. Sanjay. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I really wish we could clone Dr. Jaya and Mr. Venkatesh and place them in different newsrooms across the country. And I'm sure that will be an answer to many of our concerns. I won't keep the contestants waiting because, when I was a journalist myself, when award functions used to be covered, or when I was a student, we would, wait and wait for the results. And finally, at the end of long speeches, they would say, with these few words, we'll announce the results. So I'll cut to the chase right away. The regional category, the award goes to Santosh Sisupal from Manorama Arogyam for his article, Medicine for Mental Illness, Bursting the Misconceptions. Congratulations, Santosh Sisupal from Manorama Arogyam. This is the regional category.
Dr. Jaya, will you read out the citation?
Well, it's wonderful to hear Sanjay doing it. Maybe we can alternate.
Okay.
Yeah. So SCARF is absolutely delighted to confer on Santosh Sisupal the 2022 SCARF Media for Mental Health Awards for excellence in reporting on mental health. It's a great story, Santosh, and Santosh is a familiar face at many awards functions. So God bless you, and looking forward to much more.
Congratulations, Santosh. Yeah.
Congratulations again, Santosh.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Next, we've got a special category award. And I just noticed a giveaway would be the person who actually just posted a congratulatory message to Santosh. That's Anna Maria Joseph, a clinical psychologist, for her article in the Swaddle, How Indian Women's Mental Health is Deeply Tied to Proper Menstrual Care. Congratulations, Anna.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
The SCARF is delighted to confer on Anna Maria Joseph the 2022 SCARF Media for Mental Health Awards for excellence in reporting on mental health. Congratulations, Anna.
Mr. Sanjay, this award we have started this year as a separate category for mental health professionals who write in the media, because we didn't want them competing with journalists for obvious reasons. So we thought we will have a separate category for them, and this is the first time we are giving out an award in this category. So congratulations.
It's so nice. Yeah, that's a very fair way of doing it. Congratulations again, Anna. And now for the mainstream journalists, we've got the third place goes to Dev Rupa Rakshit, the Swaddle, for the article, Society Idealizes Having a Great Memory, but What If It's Better to Forget? Congratulations, Dev Rupa.
Thank you so much.
SCARF is delighted to confer on Dev Rupa Rakshit the 2022 SCARF Media for Mental Health Awards for excellence in reporting on mental health. Congratulations.
Congrats again. I think there's a trend that I'm noticing online and the messages that pop up. The person who wins the next award is actually congratulating the previous person. So the second place goes to Rohita Narahari Sethi, the Swaddle. Inside India's mental health institutions, women lose autonomy and agency. I think this is so topical as well, going by what we've seen in these recent news reports. Congratulations, Rohita.
SCARF is delighted to confer on Rohita Narahari Shetty the 2022 SCARF Media for Mental Health Awards for excellence in reporting on mental health. Congratulations from the jury.
Thanks so much.
I'm looking for the next comment that's coming up. Okay. That's the trend. The first place, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Amit Kamath and Neha Bhardwaj for their article, Mind Over Medal series. I saw this. I mean, when we celebrate sport, we also need to look at the downside as well, and what sports persons, what it goes, the amount of effort that goes into making a champion, and how champions also are prone to mental health issues. I thought, especially Robin Uthappa's story really gave me a lump in my throat. Congratulations, Amit and Neha.
So SCARF is delighted to confer on Amit Kamath and Neha Bhardwaj Alter the 2022 SCARF Media for Mental Health Awards for excellence in reporting on mental health, and looking forward to much, much more from you both. Congrats.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanjay, but we would like to hear from you.
Yes,
Not
definitely.
The awards.
Thank you, Dr. Mangla. Thank you, Dr. Padmavati. Ladies and gentlemen, the award winners and those who've also sent in their entries. It is reported that Henry Ford once took two candidates for an interview, and it was not at the Ford headquarters, but it was to a restaurant for lunch. And after the lunch was over, he asked one of the candidates to stay back to discuss the terms and conditions of the offer and bid adieu to the other candidate. So the person who was not selected was very curious. So perplexed, he mustered the courage to ask the corporate bigwig, "Sir, my friend and I have the same educational qualifications, more or less the same grades, same talents. We hail from similar backgrounds. Could I please know why he was picked over me?" So Ford, without batting an eyelid, as a matter of fact tone, said, "Yes, of course, I'll let you know. You added pepper and salt to your dish without tasting it. Your friend, in fact, tasted it and then added pepper and salt. We like people who sample things first before making changes. You didn't look at the waiter. You pretended as if he didn't exist. You're only interested in impressing me. Your friend looked at the waiters in the eye, addressed them by their names, treated them with respect, said please and thank you. We like people in our organization who don't see hierarchy, but see people, as human beings." Ladies and gentlemen, whether it is the corporate world or whether it is journalism, my mind goes back to, when I was in school and college. I started off as a student journalist. Of course, much later, I switched to law practice. But I used to write articles in the letters to the editor first in the Indian Express, and then articles right from the time I was in class 8, when I was 13 years in the Indian Express. And I remember those days, even before journalism courses started, those who wanted to do journalism would automatically, go and study English literature in college. So I remember going to the then chief of bureau, Mrs. Rashida Bhagat, who I consider my mentor, somebody I've always looked up to, and asked her, "Ma'am, should I study English literature, or is it okay if I study history, because I also had the civil services in mind?" And what she told me, I still remember. And I quote her, at most events that I speak on journalism. It's, "Sanjay, it doesn't matter whether you study history or chemistry or literature. To be a good journalist, you need to be a good human being. You need to be able to feel for others. And in journalism, when you do the health beat or when you cover mental illness, that's precisely what you need. You need to be able to feel for others. And why am I saying this? You look at the newsrooms today, there is this competitive sensationalism, as it were. There is no sensitivity in many sections of the media. I'm sorry to say that. Since I'm out of the media, I can afford to be a lot more critical than I would have been perhaps if I was an insider then. There is a lot of copycat journalism. There is fake news to combat. And there is one problem that is hardly ever recognized today, and that's the news of the day. The news of the day eclipses most other forms of journalism, like pounding the pavement, looking for stories, looking for in-depth analysis, taking time to analyze issues, reading the fine print, visiting people, talking to people off camera, on camera, doing investigation. That Mr. Venkatesh early on, sort of sounded that warning note when he spoke about tokenism, in a sense, that there are certain issues, World Mental Health Day, World Schizophrenia Day, then you will have a topic, you will have an article to fill the page 1 or page 3 or whatever, and that's a deed for the day done. There is no sustained coverage. I mean, we have saturation coverage when it comes to politics, and we have hardly any coverage when it comes to serious issues of mental health. On health issues itself, not just mental health, but on health itself gets not just in our budgets by governments, but also in the space given in our newspapers, on our TV channels, and other forms of the media. And I would like to see that changing. So this journalism coverage that is linked to occasions and days, we need to go beyond that. And I, for one, this is my clarion call to all those who have logged in today, especially the young journalists, the award winners, and those who sent in their entries, is not to treat your work as a beat to be covered. Treat your work as a cause to be championed. Let me say that again. Don't treat your work as a beat to be covered, but as a cause to be championed. And I'll give you a small example from my stint in NDTV. I spent 15 years in NDTV after I studied law. And as I said, 11 years ago, I made that dramatic transition from the newsroom to the courtroom, from color to black and white, in a sense. This was after that terrible tragedy that took place in a place called Yerwadi in Ramanathapuram district in Tamil Nadu, where at an ashram, patients were chained with logs, to logs, and they couldn't escape when a fire engulfed that ashram. And And they were all, about 28 of them, I think, were charged to death. A year on, many newspapers were full of these puff pieces, PR stories, oh, rehabilitation, reformation has taken place, look at the change and all that, because it makes good, let's face it, it makes good copy. Local collectors like to be seen as having heralded some change or the other. So I went there with a hidden camera. Those days, we didn't really have this kind of button cameras and all that. So a camera had to be actually, hidden in a bag, literally hidden. And we found that there were places, there was one particular place where inmates were still being chained. 1 year on, no lessons learned. So we filmed all that and we exposed that. And then after that, all hell broke loose. There were, of course, the standard denials. There were damage control pieces saying that those were not chains, but ornamental anklets on their feet. All kinds of things when they were, sometimes governments live in denial and there's this ostrich tendency to not recognize a problem. But we had, the camera doesn't lie. That's the advantage with television. That's the advantage with the medium as such. The camera doesn't lie and it was there for all to see. An investigation was ordered. I remember then the health secretary, social welfare secretary, they got in touch. We gave them even the raw footage, the unedited footage, and some action was taken. Now, a lot of people today, in today's context, I for one believe that a journalist must also be, in a sense, an activist, not just a journalist. It's a call to every citizen. Every citizen also needs to don the mantle of an activist in a sense. And activism is not a bad word today. A good citizen could also be an activist. It's there also as one of your fundamental duties under the Constitution, apart from, of course, from your fundamental right to freedom of speech and expression. Why am I saying this? I would like to quote Justice Jackson of the US Supreme Court, who said, "It is not the duty of the government to keep citizens under check. It is a duty of citizens to keep governments under check." So you need to ask those questions. And therefore, like Mahatma Gandhi said in one of his trials, what to you is the highest crime of treason is to me the highest duty as a patriotic citizen. As a journalist, you wield a certain amount of power. You can be a change agent. It is your duty to push for change. And you need to be a change agent. Now, as a lawyer, I'm donning the lawyer's hat, the gown for a moment now. In the Constitution, we talk about separation of powers between the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and the fourth estate. And we talk about not crossing the constitutional line of control, the constitutional LOC, as it were, because that is a basic feature of the Constitution. I have a different take on this. I feel, instead of not crossing the constitutional LOC, why can't these four estates, especially the media that I come from, be a change agent, and let it be a bait-and race where, let's say, there's an expose done. In fact, one of the first reporters we hired from college when we started NDTV Hindu was a girl called Divya Chandrababu, and she messaged me that she won the award in 2015. Even recently, with this recent home that was raided, she had done a story about how drugs were illegally sourced and all that, and then the Tamil Nadu Health Ministry ordered an inquiry. So she, in fact, messaged me. So, why can't an expose lead to judicial intervention, where I, as a lawyer, file a PIL, or if the courts are to take suo motu action based on that, a judicial order is passed, executive action taken, then we come full circle. So where there is an investigative piece that appears in the media, there is a PIL filed. PILs don't need to be only publicity, interest, litigation. They can really take up serious issues. We've seen that in our country where PILs have really changed the course of our history. Judicial orders are passed, executive action taken. So this is something that I feel should be done. It's good to get an award. As they say, an award is only as good as its shortlist, but this you have 50 entries. It's good to win awards, but it's also good to bring about change. And I'm sure many of you have it in you to bring about that change. And when you do that, when you file stories, I think it's important for all of us as journalists to step into the shoes of patients and to step into the shoes of caregivers. And that's where you'll get perspective. Talk to patients, talk to caregivers, and the amount that you get, the information that you get, as opposed to just talking to bureaucrats, getting statistics and finding your story with statistics. Cold statistics don't really tell a story. But when you talk to people affected, talk to NGOs, one of my favorite lines is, wherever there is no GO, there is an NGO. Wherever there is executive inaction, you have NGOs filling in that vacuum, and SCARF is one such NGO. So to all the award winners today, I'd like to tell you that there are awards and there are awards. And then there are the SCARF awards. When you get an award from a credible organization like SCARF, it is a big deal. When you have people like Dr. Jaya Sridhar and Mr. Venkatesh sitting there as part of the jury, it is a big deal because you know these people are respected for their work and there are no strings attached to these awards. It's purely on merit. So I think it is a big deal. It's time for you to go out and celebrate and make a big deal about it. Splash it on the social media. Feel proud about this because I always believe, ladies and gentlemen, award winners, that an award is not just recognition. An award is a responsibility cast on you to soldier on. So congratulations once again, and do consider this as your badge of honor, or shall I say, your scarf of honor. Thank you very much. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. I just have a question. You're sure you don't want to change the title of your book? Speakers are made and not born?
No, the title of my book was because, I used to, I must tell you this, that I have had my share of depression in life while growing up. I was a very nervous kid in school. I used to wet my pants till the age of 10. I used to shiver in my shoes to answer my attendance in class, to just about, muster a present ma'am, to answer the roll call in class, present ma'am. I would choke, when the Rajeshes were called and the R's would come, and finally S. Sanjay would be called. And therefore, that book, the first book that I wrote, Speakers Are Made Not Born, was my story, as much as it is about several others who have stage fright. So that was very experiential in a sense.
Yes.
So no, I won't change the title.
Okay. No, it was brilliant listening to you. And I think you should definitely find time to teach journalists as well. I know you teach in law schools, but maybe you should find time to teach in schools of journalism as well.
No, I definitely would like to do that. Maybe I'll tie up with Sashi, who's a good friend, my senior in school in Don Bosco as well. I think journalists today need to, when they are in ACJ, for instance, and I'll bounce this off Dr. Jaya as well, if she could take it to ACJ, let there be a paper on RTI, practical training. How many journalists today file RTI applications? It's such a tool of empowerment. How many of them file PILs? Let young journalists, journalism students start filing PILs. Let them start filing RTI applications. And I always tell people, if you have a genuine cause, please bring it to me. I'm willing to fight it pro bono. I'm not rich. I'm not a rich lawyer because I have made this lateral entry. It's a bit of a struggle. But whatever I can do, I would like to devote some of my time at least to some kind of pro bono battles that we can fight. So if you have a good cause, and in fact, I've been telling Dr. Tara and Dr. Padmavati as well about several issues that we need to flag. I'll give you a small example, and maybe journalists can also pick up the story. Do you know that in the private sector, you can have discrimination? A psychiatrist friend of mine referred one of his patients to me. This boy was a top performer in an IT company. Then he had bipolar and he took a break. He took a sabbatical, which he's entitled. When he wanted to rejoin the workforce, he passed all the interview stages, went right up to the, I think, penultimate stage. At that point, he wanted to be honest. You see, honesty is not always incentivized. Honesty is penalized sometimes in our country. So he confessed, he confided in them voluntarily. It's not that they found out something. On his own, he said, look, I've got bipolar, so I might need leave at some point. I might need 2 months off or 2 weeks off. I'm just keeping you in the loop. Oh, is that so? They made him incriminate himself in a sense. They made him send a mail saying whatever he had confided in. And on the basis of that, they disqualified him. The boy came to me. Now, he was not willing to actually take the legal route because of obvious reasons, because, he will get blacklisted. Employers in the future may not touch him. Right? That was a genuine, justifiable fear in his mind. So he didn't want to be stigmatized in a sense as a troublesome prospective employee. So I spoke to that company and still, I said, look, since I know the management, the top management, I told them, look, can you do something? This is not right. Give him some other role, but don't discriminate against him. So he asked me, what are his legal options? Sadly, there are no legal options. This is a private organization. If it's a government company, it is amenable to writ jurisdiction. A private company under the Mental Health Care Act, and you have the Disabilities Act, only has a provision for equal employment opportunities. And that also is not followed, to the T. So his only recourse is to plead with that company. So these are these loopholes. So if there is some journalist who writes about it, in fact, I can write about it in my column as well. If we have some kind of a noise made in the media, we pick up that noise, take it to the court. The court sees value, merit in that, passes an order, asks the government to look into it, bring about legislation. So this is how award-winning journalists can be agents of change. I'm giving you a live example.
Thank you so much. I think that was very interesting and definitely thought-provoking for all of us. I think it's time now for us to hear from the award winners. I'm not calling out anybody. Any volunteers who would like to feedback?
Hi, this is Meha, and I would just like to thank Scarf for giving Amit and me this award. I'd also like to congratulate Amit. It's been, this series. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yeah, but we can't see you.
That was the thing that I was telling Amit as well. I'm actually out somewhere. I've taken my son for football since it's Saturday. So unfortunately, I'm not in a state to be seen. But I just wanted to thank you, and I wanted to congratulate Amit as well, because this is something that we have done over many months, and I especially wanted to make sure, Amit and I, we had conversations around it, and we wanted to make sure that there are so many things when it comes to Indian sports persons that they go through. Women, for sports women, it's a different kind of mental pressure that they come with. So how do they deal with it? Olympians, after not having performed well in the Olympics, how do they deal with the blues? Then Abhinav Bindra, who spoke to us and who said, you know what, after winning the gold, I felt a vacuum and I didn't know what to do, because that was my goal and I'd achieved everything, but I felt extremely low and I didn't know how to come out of that stage. Then I also felt that cricketers have a very different kind of mental, they have very different mental challenges when you compare them to other sports persons, because the competition is different, the limelight on them is different. Auction being one of the issues that Robin Uthappa, that Mr. Pinto was talking about, that Robin Uthappa spoke about. He said that every time we went into an auction and we were bought and sold, we felt like cattle. So yeah, it was a series where we wanted to, just get all the aspects. What does it really take to become champions? And as we all know, in India, especially with the way we've been covering, more often than not, they have come up despite the system and not because of it. So, it was just us wanting to just bring that out. Nobody talks about it in this way, in this kind of in-depth manner, in which, there was a series that could be done where we talked to all of them, who'd all come with different problems. So yeah, we're really thankful to you for recognizing our efforts and, hope to continue doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Megha. And yeah, as Mr. Venkatesh was pointing out, we would definitely love to have more entries from you in the coming years. It should not be a one session, right? Okay.
No, we're planning season 2, let's see soon. So
thank you so much. Thank you for that feedback. And congratulations once again. So
thank you.
Is there anybody else who's...
Thank you, ma'am, Scarf. And it's a very proud and one of the happiest moments because actually, as a health journalist, I have got several awards. But as Sanjay sir pointed out, the Scarf Award is so different because of the quality of the jury and the award. So I know because Jaya ma'am and Congrade sir and Jaya ma'am is also my mentor in the last fellowships, and Mangala ma'am is also my teacher in Reach fellowships and our trainings. So this is award for my article published in Malayalam Arogya magazine, the the article is related to the stigma for related to the psychiatric medicines, not only the psychiatric treatments, psychiatric medicines. So most of the patients are, when doctors suggest psychiatric medicines, they hesitate to have it and go to some so serious illnesses and serious situations, and it is not easy to handle them with the medications also, or the doctor should give more medicines and more serious or serious treatments also. In these situations, we take this topic, and I done research on it and talk with some experts in Kerala, from psychiatrists to psychologists, and I made the story. Apart from the main content, I suggest when to meet a mental health expert, which is the right time to meet an expert, a psychiatrist or psychologist, and how to choose in between them. Which one is right person to meet this time, psychiatrist or psychologist? How can a person decide that? And that kind of things, and also how the psychiatric medicines working in our brain. And so the total story tried to dealing that remove the stigma on these medications. So thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Santosh. It was a very, very relevant and very important issue that you had addressed in your story, and congratulations once again. So as we come to the end of today's event, I think it's a pleasant duty on my behalf to thank all of you who are here for making this a grand success. First of all, my thanks to Mr. Sanjay Pinto for agreeing to be the chief guest and for that wonderful, thought-provoking and inspiring talk that he gave us. I think some of those ideas that you mentioned were very, very important, and I think will be worth trying out with the students of journalism, as I think Dr. Jaya agrees with me there. And of course, my thanks are due to Dr. Jaya and Mr. Venkatesh for their continuous support, without whom we would not have been able to have so many editions of media awards, and we hope our association continues. And we thank all the participants who have sent in their entries, and please do continue sending more entries in the future too. I personally thought almost all the entries that we received this year were worth awarding, and it was a very difficult task for the jury to choose the best ones. And the press, which has always been very kind to us, and the audience for your patient presence. And I think I should also thank Mr. Satyendran, whose painting we have gifted to you, Mr. Sanjay. So thank you all. We will see you soon in yet another edition of SCARF Media for Mental Health Awards. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sanjay. Bye.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.